It's not that you need every social media platform, like I've already mentioned, but in reality, customers are using social media for research, comparisons, and in building that kind of credibility. So if you're not there, you're just not in control of how they see your business.
Hello everyone, welcome back to the ProfileTree Podcast. Today in this episode, I'm joined with Eimear and Gabbi from the team, and we're going to talk about some of the biggest myths in marketing that businesses still believe to this day. Despite constant changes in digital marketing, many businesses still base decisions on outdated assumptions, but separating myths and older thoughts from reality can save you time, money, and frustration. So let's start this off with some of the most common marketing misconceptions that you have heard from clients before. Eimear, do you want to take the floor?
Yeah, so I think usually when clients are coming to us, maybe for like an initial discovery meeting, we'll hear, I know you touched on outdated advice, but maybe things people have heard like 5 years ago that they still think is what they should be doing. And they'll maybe have stuck to that. That'll have been their marketing strategy for the last 5 years. They won't have done anything different. So they're kind of like, this is what I want you to do. Maybe they don't have enough time now. They're not really thinking about all the other things that they could be doing to kind of expand on their marketing strategy. So we would see a lot of people clinging to kind of outdated advice that they believe is the right thing for their business. We also would see a lot of people, obviously everyone now is an expert in marketing and in social media. So a lot of people will see people who are maybe, titled social media gurus or marketing gurus online, who will kind of post clickbaity content that will tell you that this is the one secret that you need to kind of master marketing, and people will cling to things like that as well. But what people don't understand is the marketing strategy for your business is specific to you. Like what works for another business may not work for you. The platforms that work for other businesses may not work for you. And that's so important to kind of get right for your business to make sure that your business is succeeding and that you're promoting it correctly. I'm sure this is something you encounter quite a bit in training, Gabbi, with the clients that you would work with in terms of doing like their marketing, their social media, and like what works for them.
Yeah, definitely. Like you hit the nail on the head there when you were saying like how a lot of clients will say, for example, look at like marketing gurus or social media gurus, they say, because like I've worked with a lot of businesses where I'll give them advice and they'll say, this is not what I was told, or this isn't what I read from this certain person online. I think to me, one of the biggest kind of myths, and it's almost like the soapbox that I'll kind of stand on when it comes to social media, is there is this kind of old common misconception or myth that if you're a business, you need to be on every platform. And I think, say, if we were looking 10, 15 years ago, but when, say, social media marketing was really only kind of beginning, maybe at that point, that was a case. But I think when it comes to businesses, they feel like they need to be everywhere, but usually what that can lead to is, say inactive channels or inconsistent content rather than focusing on the platforms where your audience is going to be most active. And that's where your brand can actually focus your time and your resources in terms of your content that are not only going to feel, native to that space, but are also going to connect with their target audience. So really as a business, when it comes to social media, look at your 2 or 3 best platforms, to use rather than spreading yourself across, all of them. And you say, like I just said there, especially if you don't have, if you're a small team, if you're an entrepreneur or say a sole trader and you don't have a lot of time, being on every social media platform is not going to help you get that message out there. And I think the best example I would give is I've worked an awful lot with a lot of businesses that would primarily work, say, B2B, or work, say, their target kind of customer is other business professionals. And they'll say to me, I think we should be on TikTok, when in reality, your audience, although saying maybe some potential customers or clients you've had before might be, say, active on TikTok and for personal use, they're not really going to be there. So you're losing that time and resource focusing on that. Whereas if you had more of a focus on LinkedIn, that's effectively going to be better for you. But
sorry, I was going to ask you there just before, is there a lot of work that goes into managing, if you were a business and you did jump on every platform, is there a lot of work in managing the full sweep?
Yeah, for sure. Because say, for example, and it's even say like whether even if say a business wasn't B2B, say if they had Facebook, Instagram, say, and say they had LinkedIn as well, and they said, I think we should be on TikTok. If they don't have a lot of video content or time to create that video content, you're creating a channel that's just going to lay there empty, and I think that's, when it comes to social media. Now, don't get me wrong, you can take one piece of content and share it across different platforms, but it's kind of like you've said, Chris, like in a previous episode, that what you don't want to do is just put that same post across the board, because what might work on LinkedIn might look completely disconnected on Instagram. So I think that's where, when it comes to like management, you might think, oh, we could manage all channels, but if you're really going to use them effectively, you have to create that content, whether it's the visual component or the caption or how you strategically post it to fit your audience on that platform. So I would definitely say, I think when it comes to managing every platform, I think it is a lot harder than people realize.
Hmm. And is there any platforms that stand out that businesses wouldn't really be on? Like, is there any platforms that businesses should ignore?
I don't think there's one, like, I would say, depending on your your audience demographic, who your main target customer is, or even just the accessibility to content, that's how you should gauge it. I would say the only platform from my experiences with, say, over the past year, even with businesses, is that the one platform a lot of them are moving away from is Twitter, or X as it's known. And I think that's because of the uncertainty of the platform rather than, maybe their audience isn't there. I think it's just the way the algorithm and everything has changed. But the way I kind of look at it is, in terms of what platforms you shouldn't be on, is just one that's, so say, for example, I wouldn't expect a business to be, or say like a engineering business, I wouldn't expect them to be on something like Snapchat or something like that. They're gonna focus their content and their resources of where their main kind of target audience is.
Nice. So myth number one, we need to be on every platform. Not true.
Debunked.
Debunked. Very good. And Eimear, do you want to give us one about web?
Yeah, so I think something that we have kind of encountered, particularly around the 6 month mark, maybe after building a website, is people will assume if they build a website, customers will come, but sales will also come. And that's just simply not true. Without kind of putting the work in and continuing to build upon the strategy after your website's gone live, unfortunately, that's not going to be the case. We always try to tell our clients that a website's like a car. You have to maintain it, you have to get it MOT'd, you have to kind of get your services done to make sure everything's running as it should be. You wouldn't buy your car and just never get it looked at ever again. And it should be the same thing with your website, because websites change. The things that work like on your websites change. Like things like plugins need to be updated. Your content needs to be updated constantly. You need to be looking at, like, a service that maybe you prioritized this time last year may not be the thing that's the most popular service in your business now. You may want to prioritize different things so that when a customer is first coming onto your website, the first thing they see are the services that you prioritize, the ones that you're best at, the ones that are your money makers. And if you're never looking at your website, your content, the things that are on there, that just will not be successful in terms of converting clients from looking at your website to actual customers and becoming clients. We see a lot of people investing really heavily in their websites in the initial phases of like a website project, and then maybe not coming back, or maybe just not putting any kind of strategy into it afterwards. We would generally try to encourage clients following like a website build to invest in some SEO, because a lot of businesses and a lot of our clients are so busy, they maybe don't have the time to do this themselves, which is completely understandable. And that's where we can come in. And we can train your in-house team, or we can do it for you. We would kind of have a range of packages, so things like SEO packages that are tailored towards brand new websites, to ensure that you're continuing to kind of build upon your content, build upon your keywords in the 6 months following going live. But we can also train you to do that in-house as well, because yeah, unfortunately, it's not as easy as just getting a new website. You do need to still continue to invest into your strategy in order to get those conversions from a customer viewing your website to actually becoming a sale and an active customer.
And how often should businesses be looking at their website, be updating? I suppose obviously like the standard of, like, if they have a new product come in, they need to put that new product up, and then push that a little bit more, create blogs around it, and
Yeah.
so on and so forth. But like as a standard, how often should businesses be going to their website and updating their content on each page?
Well, we would say in terms of if you're doing new blog content like once a month, obviously weekly is best if you've got the staff in house and if you've got the time. Weekly is obviously best just to make sure you're getting something on there. It doesn't have to be, any more, like 1 to 2 blogs a week is absolutely fine. That's great. Obviously, you don't need to be going into your core pages across the site and updating them that often, but we would say every 3 to 6 months going in, having a look, making sure that everything on your core pages is up to date is key. And even if you have blogs that have been sitting on your website for a little while, maybe they've been on there for a year or two, updating them with what's new and what's current in that topic and that part of your industry is so important. It doesn't have to be brand new content. And we would often see a lot of traction being picked up on those blogs that are updated. They could be old content, maybe they performed well when they were first uploaded, and uploading those can still get you the same kind of traction. So we would probably say if you have the people in there, or even if you wanted us to do it for you, we would try to say like 1 or 2 a week ideally. But if you don't have the time, like a few a month is good enough. It's just as long as you're actually getting some updated content to let Google and the other search engines see that your website is active, that you're still adding relevant content to what people will be searching for, and that relates to your industry is so important.
And I suppose design and branding is a whole other section of that as well, because we're talking about content, but then you've got the actual look and feel, the user interface, how the UX design, how people interact with the pages on your website, and how easy navigated it is. Like, how often should you revisit that?
That's not something that we would typically see people revisiting all that often. Obviously, if you've maybe had a website for 4 or 5 years, it just doesn't really fit with your brand anymore, then we would see people maybe coming in for a bit of a redesign or maybe a complete overhaul of their brand. It's not something that we would see incredibly often in terms of, existing clients coming back and saying, I want to overhaul my brand. But new clients, we would see it quite frequently where people maybe just don't align with what they want, thought their brand was, or maybe they're updating their brand or they've just made some changes. We would get that more often than people kind of just wanting to make changes after they've maybe got a new website, but it's not as common, I would say.
Yeah, I could see that without, like, a new website is a new website. It's
Yeah.
in date.
A brand
But
new.
some business comes to us with maybe a website they've had for 5 years. They're obviously going to want to rehaul.
Yeah, completely new. Like, and that would be like, obviously, we would offer so many different options for that. But yeah, it would be typically people that have maybe had a brand for years and they just want to give it a little overhaul. And we would see that coming from mostly.
Yeah, very good. Um, that's cool. So I guess that's myth number 2. If a website is built, customers and sales will come. Er. You have to update it weekly at the very least, or monthly at the very least, but weekly, maybe twice a week, to stay up to date. So that's essential, to compete
I
with the
wanted
market.
to I wanted to ask you, Chris, is there any, say, like myths you find in terms of like video that comes up for you when you work with clients?
I guess probably one of the biggest ones is that it's expensive, because you've got a lot of elements in there. Now, when you compare it to a website, obviously a website is something that, like, it's more of like an asset. It's a huge asset for your business. Um, you can compare video to more like the social side of a company, or the company's marketing strategy, because you create a video, and if you do it in the right way, it could become an asset, and you could use it quite often. But a lot of businesses will create a video for a purpose. So we need an onboarding video. We need a new video around this new service that we're offering. We'll need a full website overhaul of the content. So we want an about us video. We want testimonials. We want product demos. So I guess, when you're looking at a big package like that for your website, it becomes an asset because it's part of the bigger asset of your website. If you're creating a one-off video because there's an event on this month and you want to cover it, and there's not another event on until the year after, it would definitely be good to get something, but maybe putting a lot of time and effort into that one video unless it is like, throughout the year, it could then become expensive for your, like, really what I'm trying to say is video can be expensive if you're not using it in the right way, and you're not repurposing, and you're not looking at getting the best ROI for the best return for your investment. So it's, in my opinion, much more affordable than it's ever been, because everyone in the world is a videographer. That's what I'm saying. You look at Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts, even YouTubers that start with a camera and start recording face to camera stuff and reviewing or reacting in their rooms. They might create a little home studio or something like this. Next minute, they know how to use 3 different types of cameras. They're changing their lighting setups. They're upgrading their audio. And I've seen it from start to finish. Some brands that have just jumped, or some people, personal branding even, jumping on YouTube because they're good at something, or they're creating content around something that they're really interested in. And they're probably really educated in that space as well. And then they come from a very low quality production into something that would be like professional standards, something you would get in a marketing agency, and that is that's the bottom line when it comes to, you know, video production. It's very affordable if you want to invest your time and effort into it. And most businesses don't realize this as well, that all of these little add-ons accessories for your phone, like I got a brand new iPhone 17 Pro there, and the quality of the video on it is incredible. Even looking out the window over Belfast, me and Sarah were actually comparing the camera quality, and it's just if you shot it in the right way, graded it, and used a free editing software to cut it together with some footage, you probably wouldn't, like, to the untrained eye, they wouldn't know the difference between an iPhone or any sort of modern smartphone like an Android phone and a DSLR camera. So, like, it's very affordable. You could probably look at starting for a business, for a company. You could probably look at about £500 for a budget. Um, as long as you have a smartphone with enough space to hold your footage on it, and you can just offload that onto a computer or delete it as you make the videos throughout the year. Pardon me. So £500 would get you 2 LED lights, a tripod, and a good microphone for your phone as well, like a lavalier mic. There's good brands out there, Rode, for example, DJI, and so on. So, yeah, for a business, video in-house, and even with an agency, is not too expensive at all if you're using it in the right way, or if you're thinking about it the right way. And nowadays with AI, and like we were talking about that in a recent episode, being able to use AI to be more productive in agencies. I mean, we're saving cost for clients essentially. Something that would have cost £1,000, maybe £800, something that was 2,500 is maybe 2,000. But that all depends on the output and what you're looking for. But video is not expensive. It's just being smart about your content, looking to where you can repurpose it to, and even further than that, like we were talking earlier about training, Gabby. So you're training with clients in the marketing side of their business, online. I'd be training clients how to use video equipment, how to use their phone, day in, day out, for creating content for their brands. And it's as simple as learning the basics, learning the theory of video. So like frame rate, shutter speed. But you're not going to need shutter speed actually for a phone. You're going to need to look at frame rate and resolution. Are going to be the two main ones. And then how to go about filming, like the process. So how long the shots need to be, the movement in the shots, the framing. So you can add like a little third, a grid on your phone, so you can split the screen up into thirds. And then you've got your engagement points on that as well. And so once you know that, and once you have a bit of an eye for it as well, then you start to look at photography and getting photos for your Instagram or your website even. So yeah, it's not expensive. It's the kind of thing that it'll take up a lot of your time, but video production is not too expensive.
Yeah, so it's pretty much that it's not that it's expensive, it's more of an investment, really, for
Yeah.
kind of the long run.
Yeah, you have to invest in it. It's a little bit like what Emer was talking about there with a website. You got to invest if you're going to spend a lot of money and effort into building something like this. You want to invest in it every week or every 2 weeks. Continue to update it. It's the same with video. If you have, like, let's say a seasonal menu in a restaurant, and you want to promote some of those dishes on Instagram or TikTok, and get that viral content that people are always searching for, you gotta you gotta be there. You gotta be creating your own content. And it's as simple as putting your phone into 50 FPS and 4K and doing some nice B-roll shots, some nice framing, maybe some action shots of someone lifting or walking with the plate or lifting the cup of coffee, whatever it may be. Fit, the milk on the coffee, thinking creatively about how you can get those nice shots that viewers are going to watch and then you're going to engage them. The amount of videos that my girlfriend shows me of food and even just like the home decorations and stuff like that, and they're always filmed in the same sort of way, like slow cinematic cool action shots that literally, like, these people are just they're just people, they're not working as videographers. They're not, maybe some of them are in marketing agencies and some of them are videographers, but the bottom line is anyone can learn how to do this, and if you're out there and you're thinking about learning how to do more of it, do get in touch with us, because we offer that in the training department.
Another one, debunked.
Another one, debunked. Myth number 3. So it's your turn, Gabby. Give us another myth.
Well, there's many myths I could probably bring up. I think one of the biggest one, because I would probably say this is a very much reoccurring question I get when I work with clients in terms of social media, is that more followers effectively equals more sales. And I think it's one of the biggest mistakes businesses make, because they're always, like, obviously as a business, you want to grow your social presence, you want to grow your community, grow that kind of group of existing and potentially new customers that are going to interact with you. But I think there's always this myth of, the higher the follower number, it's more proof of success. But even in terms of how the social media platforms work now, a large following doesn't really mean very much if those followers aren't engaging with you, if they don't trust your branding, your content, they're not buying from you. So even what I always say is that a smaller audience that engages with you is far better than saying having 100,000 followers that are just effectively you on a number. Like, even say platforms, and say, like, actually followers is known as like a vanity metric. And although there are some people that will look at followers, like, say for example, I've given advice before, if you're looking to work with, say, like, social media influencers, a lot of bigger brands might look at, say, influencers that have massive followings. But especially if you're a small business and you're looking to maybe get into influencer marketing, micro influencers that say for example, you have an influencer here that has 15,000 followers but has people commenting on their posts all the time, engaging, starting conversations, that's far better than having an influencer with 100,000 followers that nobody's interacting with, nobody's engaging with. But even on that, say, like, platforms, I know we've talked about it already, but, like, say platforms like TikTok, the main kind of success metrics it looks for is not how many followers your page has, but it looks at how many people that watch your videos to the very end. They look who engages with you and starts conversations, so when, to debunk the myth, more followers does not mean more success. What you really want to focus on is content engagement with your community, which is going to be far more important and actually help you build a much more higher quality, follower group and community for your business.
So would you rather have 100K followers or 1,000 ideal customers following your brand?
Well, I think there used to be, and I don't know, there could be still, say, some people that still believe this, but I know when I kind of ever started in marketing for social media, it was the whole thing that you cannot follow more people than you have followers, which I think, although, say, obviously it might look better on your profile, I don't really think that's much the case anymore, because even, say, for gaining followers, followers are so difficult now, because And it's probably the biggest problem businesses I work with have, is that they can't grow their followers. And that's not even sometimes down to them themselves. It's down to, say, like using Instagram as an example. Instagram's algorithm and all the other kind of, even say like TikTok, and even, well, Facebook I wouldn't say is as smart. Maybe TikTok and Instagram are a bit similar, but their algorithms now are fed into, if you interact with a post, it will start feeding you. Like, to give you an example, similar, Chris, I think you mentioned in a previous episode, you're doing a house renovation. I'm doing the same. So, but because I'm not great at DIY, I'm looking for help. And I've had like a girl who does like DIY for dummies videos, and I was looking at her content for about 2 or 3 weeks. And then I went to do a project and thought, I need to go see what she did, a video on this. I need to check it. When I went to her page, I realized I'd been watching her content for 2 weeks, but I'd never followed her because the algorithm was just feeding it to me. So in terms of followers, because it's so difficult, what I always say to clients is, like, even if you only gain 50 followers in a month, you're better gaining 50 followers that are going to like, comment, share, or potentially go to your website, buy from you, than, one kind of old school way people used to buy followers. So say if you had 100,000 followers that are just going to be a number in your profile, but if they look at your content and you don't have that same level of engagement, it's going to cause a bit of distrust there, so focus on quality rather than quantity when it comes to your follower growth.
Mm-hmm. And like, definitely. So what you're saying there is that more followers doesn't always equal more sales.
No, yeah,
Yeah. And that's another myth debunked.
debunked.
But it is true that every business needs a social media presence.
Oh,
We
yeah.
we do need to be out there.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think, and that's, you picked up on another myth that I've kind of always thought about. I've worked with businesses that sometimes it can either go either way. They either just have a website or they just have social media. But say, like, for the ones that I work with that just say have a website, they'll usually say to me that they either don't like social media or they don't think they need a social media presence. And I think in reality, this is probably one of the biggest myths that businesses still believe, because even, say, for example, if social media isn't, say, like, I've had businesses say to me, I've never got a sale through Facebook, or I've never seen this from Instagram. Even if it's not going to directly close a sale for you, it is, say, in the day and age we are in terms of our user behavior online, we look to social media now to gather trust before we take the next step anyway. So, like, even say if you're going to book a holiday now, if you book a hotel, you're going to their Instagram, you're going to their YouTube page, you're trying to get almost that reassurance, really, that that they're real, that you can get a sense of the personality of of that business. And if you're not present, what you're effectively doing really is leaving the conversation for your competitors to have with your audience. If you don't have reviews that they can find easily, or old information that doesn't reflect who you are now, that could have been maybe a potential sale for you that's gone, because you don't have that control over your story, over the tone of your business, and even in terms of how your potential customers are going to experience you before they even go to your website or even maybe send you an inquiry about something. So for, say, for any businesses that think they don't need social media, it's not that you need every social media platform, like I've already mentioned, in this episode, but in reality, customers are using social media not as a sales tool, but more so for research, comparisons, and in building that kind of credibility. So if you're not there, you're not invisible, but you're just not in control of how they see your business.
Totally. I mean, we're looking at holidays, and something just popped in my head there. We're looking for holidays recently, and you're saying about leaving it up to your competitors, but you're also leaving it up to guests, people, or customers. So people that go and experience your business, and then they maybe create content around it. Some of them might even be beating you at your own business. Like they may be ranking for your business. And we've seen that quite a lot as well, that we have customers that are actually using the businesses to gain followers and promote themselves essentially through other businesses. So like, we were looking at a hotel there, and the first thing we went to was TikTok to see what other people had experienced. Now, if we typed the name of the hotel into TikTok and the hotel was really, really active, they'd be beating all of the influencers and all of the people that are doing these like hotel reviews. And and whatnot, and then might, shift your idea of, okay, I do like that, or else maybe you see a video and you're not too keen on the place, you'd be instantly like swiping, looking at the next one, so if you can
Yeah.
try and beat people because at the end of the day, it is your business and it's your content that should be created, why not
But
invest in yourself?
But at the same time, that like even in that, like we now rely on user generated content. So if you don't have, say, like for example, if you were looking at a hotel and you saw somebody do a great video, if they then can't find your hotel or find your business on social media, you're kind of leaving them with, because especially because we've got such a short attention span now, they're
Yeah.
going to think, oh, well, I can't find it. I'll look to the next one. But it's even in terms of, say, like with social media, it's not even just your organic content of why you need to have, say, a social media presence. Say, even for businesses that I've worked over the years, even with as examples that have, say, a Facebook and Instagram page, don't post it on it all, but they want to do social media advertising. In terms of how we react now, I know myself, I don't know if you two would be the same. If I see an ad, before I take any action on that ad, I will go see if that business looks real, because I've had experiences where I've had ads on TikTok for random gadgets, and then I've gone to the page and there's two posts, and one post is full of comments of people saying, I ordered this 3 months ago and never got it. So if they don't have somewhere where they can think, yeah, okay, this is safe, or that it's a real business, I'm gonna go look at it, there's so many opportunities you're losing out on.
Totally. I guess then to wrap up, do you want to give us one more myth, Emer? And we will close the episode for today.
Yes. So I think one that we would see quite often is marketing results should be immediate. So we would see a lot of clients expecting that if you've done some content for them or some strategy, that the next week they'll have complete like influx in inquiries, or their phone will be ringing off the hook. And that's something we've definitely had to work really hard at, just kind of building the trust with our clients, letting them know that it does take time. And obviously that's easiest to kind of verify and prove based on case studies that we have from previous projects with different clients. Showing results that we've maybe achieved within our own brands, because that's generally where we'll kind of try and test all of our new strategies would be on our own brands, which is really great to have, because you can kind of trial and test everything. You can make the mistakes there rather than when we're doing it with clients. So we've tried and tested everything, and then we're coming to clients with the strategies that we know will work for them. But getting people to be patient can be a little hard sometimes, and I completely understand, because SEO can be really confusing to people if it's not something you're doing every day. But it is a long-term investment. It's definitely not an overnight fix, and it's something that you will have to continue to build on. It can't just be a one and done. I'll look at SEO for 6 months and then I won't touch it again. It is something that you do kind of have to invest your time in. But it's just allowing people to realize that you do need to wait for your results. Like, we would generally, most of the retainer packages that we offer relating to SEO would be 6 months long, and we would generally advise our clients that it would be at the 3 month mark that you would start to see some kind of traction, and by the 6 month mark, that's where you'd be getting the most traction. Obviously, some people continue it on, and some people will kind of take what they've learned and then they can run with it themselves. But it is just very, very hard, because I understand that, especially when people are investing a lot of money into something, that they do want a kind of instant return. But unfortunately with SEO, that was definitely not the case. And if anyone is telling you that it is, I wouldn't trust them personally. I would say that that is debunked, because certainly not an overnight fix. And if it was, everybody would be doing it overnight.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. It's quite the same in video as well. You need to be pushing lots and lots of content, lots of good quality content on your social channels, on your website, and creating blogs from that, and just consistently giving to your marketing strategy, because nothing, like, it is rare that a video goes viral overnight. And it's the same with SEO. Like, a blog's not going to go through the roof, or one of your pages isn't going to jump to number 1 on Google overnight. So it's a constant effort, but if you do it the right way, you get there in the end. And we've seen that with some of our internal brands as well. Like, we've worked on them for years, and then on the past couple of years, you've seen crazy influxes of followers on YouTube, and maybe on the websites you're seeing more traffic. The traffic graph going up like that, and
Mhm.
it's very interesting. So it's another one debunked. Marketing results do not happen overnight. And if they do, you're very much in luck.
Yeah.
And if they do, please tell us how that happens. So that's grand. There's a few myths for you debunked today, guys. Thanks very much for listening. Hope you find it interesting. If there's anything that you're thinking about after watching this today or listening to us, do reach out to ProfileTree. One of the team would be happy to chat with you and see what you're interested in. But for now, thanks very much for watching. Thank you guys. It was good chatting, and we'll see you in the next one.